What is up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Jermaine Event, main on MMA, and today we are checking out another video from the homie ITP MMA Live, ladies and gents. And unfortunately for me, it's about Colby Covington and his irrelevance, if you will. I don't necessarily feel like Colby is irrelevant. I think he's one or two fights away from relevance. From, you know, a title fight. I feel like he's still in the top. He's a big name. Last couple fights weren't the best for him, you know. He's like 37, something like that. It is what it is, but let's see. Let's see what ITP MMA Live has to say about Colby Covington and his recent antics. I know after UFC 314, he was arguing with Paddy Pimblett, trying to spark some kind of thing with Paddy for some reason. He's been trying. He's for the past few years, he's been trying to fight lightweights, and he was talking about he could cut down the lightweight, but I guess it didn't happen. But I don't know. We'll see what ITP MMA Live has to say about this.
Be the #1 streamer in the world or the #1 UFC fighter in the world?
#1 streamer, because they get paid a little more money. And they don't have to get hit in the face. So.
That's true.
All right, so honestly, I think that this is a valid take from Colby, but unfortunately for him, he's every bit as close to being the world's best streamer as he is to being the world's best fighter. Also, should someone tell him that he actually needs to have some charisma in order to be a successful streamer? I mean, at least he still has time to get his online influencer career off the ground, seeing as over the past couple years, he somehow speedran being one of the most talked about fighters in the sport to a dude who's just desperate for attention. This is a guy who once headlined massive cards, who used to be seen as one of the UFC's top welterweights, and who had an actual case, albeit a shaky one, for being the #1 contender in the division. From appearing on internet live streams with certified weirdos, getting into beefs with fighters who are in lower weight classes than him, and blatantly ducking fights, whatever goodwill Covington used to have with me is completely gone. Honestly, I used to admire his song and dance.
Yeah, I didn't understand the whole, why didn't the Gary fight happen? Like, that fight should have happened, and it was weird that it didn't. Colby's my guy. I just didn't understand that one.
When he was actually active, but now that he's losing fights, it's become obvious that he knows he's spiraling into irrelevance, and now he's doing all that he can to get people talking about him again. And yeah, in this video, we're going to be talking about Colby's fall from grace, his never-ending string of pathetic antics outside the cage, and how he's become MMA's most shameless clout chaser.
Bro, you're fighting scrub. You guys are 2 and 6. I'll come and slap you. And you'll be I'll come and slap you. Zip this shit up, you little mate. You mean guys are 2 and 6? Remember that. Remember that. You're a scrub. You're a fraud. You're a fraud. Lad, what are you on a 3-fight losing streak? You did fraud check so quick. Hey. Keep putting your act on your.
Yeah, Colby, Michael Chandler's 2-5 record in the UFC is pretty bad, but I can't say that your record as of late looks much better.
Wasn't the only fight you nearly got into tonight, though. We saw a video of you backstage with Colby Covington.
Mr. Irrelevant. Trying to stay relevant. The fucking whopper.
Mr. Irrelevant.
What was that about?
Just come over, start and chat shit, didn't he, lad? Because he seen there was a camera. Come over and started to say, oh, you fight scrubs. Like, lad, he said something about Chandler being 2-4 or something. Isn't he 2-4 in his last 6? Something like that. He's an absolute bum, lad. He's nearly 40. He's trying to stay relevant by jumping on me while if there's a camera there. Well, not jumping on me, just talking shit. I seen him a power slap the other week and walked past him staring at him. And he just looked at the floor like the little pussy boy he is. Also, I get that Paddy is only 1 weight class lighter than Covington, and I get that Paddy's a huge lightweight and all, but does anybody else find it lame that Covington consistently finds himself beefing with men and women who are smaller than him? Just off the top of my head, he has ongoing feuds with Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje, who are lightweights, but he's also gotten into it with female fighters like Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Mackenzie Dern, and Poliana Viana. But the strangest feud that he's in, which is still ongoing, is the one that he has with Alexander Volkanovski.
When you talk to Volkanovski, do you have to get a step stool to talk to him? I know he's mad at me because he's mad that he can't ride the big kid rides at the amusement parks. I think he's just fighting for money. I think he's, I think he's just coming back to fight for money, and I don't think that, I don't think we have that same bulk that we had when he was hungry earlier in his career. I think he's literally just cash grabbing this weekend. And
why do you say that Volk's just in it for a paycheck? Do you think that he's not at the level that he once was?
I don't think he's there, and I think he really just was looking for that Makhachev fight because he wanted to get paid, and then he jumped right back into another fight with Poirier right away, and And then he's been begging to
Yeah,
fight
this
ever
is
since
crazy.
then. So I don't know. I think he's just cash grabbing. That's the inclination that I get now, that he's just looking to fight for money. He's not looking to fight for legacy anymore. He already built his legacy in his mind, and now he just wants to get paid. He's got a lot of mouths to feed. You know, he's got 3 daughters, and you could tell he wasn't happy about his last daughter. So he's like, oh man, I want a boy, you know? So we'll see if he keeps trying to get a boy.
For what it's worth, I would find this whole Colby Covington versus the world stuff a lot more entertaining if it weren't for the fact that when he actually does beef with guys his size, he rarely ever fights them
Guys
unless
his
it's for a
size.
title. Let's not forget that he blatantly ducked
That's
Ian
Verdun.
Gary, seeing as Ian spent more than half of last
How you gonna put that clip up there and say guys his size? Verdun was a heavyweight. He fights at 170. It's not guys his size. It's guys like with 100 pounds on him.
year calling him out to fight, and it never happened. Covington pulled some stupid little stunt where he demanded, amongst other things, that Gary's wife needs to film herself getting on her hands and knees and beg Colby to fight Ian, which was obviously never going to happen. A couple days later, Gary posted a video to his Instagram claiming that he signed a contract to fight Covington and that they were waiting on him to make it official. Clearly, this fight never came to fruition, and yes, I do think that he avoided Ian. Gary had been calling him out since 2023 and was a surging prospect in the division, and if we look at Covington's resume, let's just say that he's never been too keen on fighting guys that are on the rise. Moreover, seeing as Gary went toe-to-toe with Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is so much more of a threat in 2025 than Colby is, yeah, I do think that he avoided Gary like the plague. And frankly, this has been the case with Covington since he hopped on the scene. He's avoided every single up-and-coming fighter up until his most recent fight with Joaquin Buckley. To be honest, a big part of me feels like the only reason that he accepted the Buckley fight was because it was short notice, so he had a built-in excuse for when he lost.
Not bad for no training camp.
Not bad at all.
He will talk the talk when it comes to guys like Gary, Shavkat, Hamzat, Sean Brady, and Bilal Muhammad before he was champ, but he never stepped up to fight them. Also, I'd like to mention that every single guy that I just mentioned has repeatedly called him out to fight, only for him to say that they're not worth fighting, and now they are all ranked above him.
Colby Covington.
Got it. Yo.
I'm like, where are these guys coming from now?
Same thing with him. He's this high-level wrestler. I'm like, bro, Leon took you down multiple times. Beat the shit out of you.
Colby don't realize his time is
You
fast.
see what I just did to Leon? Like, what would I do to you, bro? Like, I would fucking kill him. He's getting.
I think that's what we always say.
He's not even getting anyone in the top 50. Dude, he's might not even have a fucking job.
Yeah.
When's the last time that dude won a fight? He fucking sucks.
You stink.
Colby, you're a pussy.
You fucking stink. When you need a shine, nobody gave no shine.
How you get punched on by Masvidal in public and go sue him? You're a pro fighter. You're a pussy.
I will say this though, I do
No. How do you get beat up in a pro fight by Colby and then have to run up on him and sneak him at a restaurant? See, that's crazy. He's a pussy because he had a fair fight with Masvidal, dominated him. Masvidal ran down on him and attacked him, a crime, and he's a pussy. What, he should have got a gun and retaliated or something? Because I don't understand how he's a pussy. He went in there and fought him for five rounds, 25 minutes, and beat that ass for 25 minutes. But then when Masvidal runs up on him, sneaks him at a restaurant, he's pussy for not just having a street fight with this dude and his goons when they ran up on him. This is crazy.
I think that he played his career pretty smart up until like 2021. The combination of him turning heel along with fighting former champions who were on the decline ended up being extremely effective in elevating his career. He was able to prop up his resume against over-the-hill legends, and the things that he said on camera caught the attention of people who weren't even fans of MMA at the time. But the thing is, I feel like his gimmick only works as long as he's actively competing and winning his fights. Since 2020, the guy has fought a grand total of 1 fight each year, and because of his inactivity, his loudmouth antics have only succeeded in annoying fans instead of keeping them interested. Like, you can only keep running your mouth for so long without backing it up inside the cage before people start to get sick of you. And look, I understand that a lot of people out there think that even in his prime he was a boring fighter, but I actually disagree with that. I enjoyed his style when he was at his best, but at the end of the day, after his first loss to Kamaru Usman, it just seemed like he changed his priorities. His strength of schedule in the UFC took a massive nosedive, whereas his desperate cries for attention have only increased. Now, this is something that I brought up in my last video with Michael Chandler, but it definitely applies to Colby as well. Nobody in the UFC actually actually seems to like him, besides Zhang Wei Li, which is super random. Obviously, he's despised amongst everybody at ATT to the point where he got kicked out of the gym, mostly over his beef with Jorge Masvidal. But as we all know by now, Colby ended up whooping Jorge's ass, so he gets the last laugh there. But even if we remove ATT fighters, welterweight fighters, and Brazilian fighters from the equation, there is still a long list of his own peers that don't have any respect for him. Kevin Holland, Sean Strickland, Michael Bisping, Israel Adesanya, Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, Misha Tate, and many more have all called him out as a poor representative of the sport. And I know that a lot of you guys might be saying that Colby accomplished his goal in turning heel because he wanted to make more money, which is true, he did. But newsflash, there are fighters who have made way more in career earnings than he has by just being likable, being active, and putting on exciting fights. Believe it or not, most UFC stars don't need to put on a persona and burn every single bridge they've ever made in order to get rich, but to each their own. Anyways, if picking fights with featherweights and lightweights wasn't bad enough, Colby has now turned to becoming a prop character in online live streams. The first time that he dipped his toe into the world of streaming was this past August when he appeared as a guest in Vitaly's Predator Hunter series.
You want to talk to him nicer, maybe? Or I don't know.
I mean, dude, you deserve to get fucking feeding to the alligators in the Everglades. That's what you deserve, dude. Your whole life is a lie. You just lie after lie. You said you're 26. You said, oh no, I never done this before. You're lying. You're swearing to God. You're lying on God. You think God would appreciate you lying to him? Start being honest with yourself, man. That's why you need to call your wife right the fuck now.
And guess what?
But the thing is, this series has basically been confirmed as being staged in advance, as casting call flyers linked to Vitaly's team were found online. And I am willing to give Colby the benefit of the doubt and say that he might not have known that these streams were staged, but regardless, is this really the best way to get your name out there? Predator catching with Vitaly, of all people, the same guy who was arrested for beating up a random woman who was jogging on the streets of LA while he was tripping on acid? The same guy that's literally under arrest in the Philippines right now for harassing the locals? And then just a month later, Colby collaborated with washed up rapper Lil Pump. You know, I actually think these guys are two peas in a pod, and it makes a lot of sense why they get along. They both were at the top of their respective industries in the late 2010s. They've both fallen off of a cliff in terms of fanfare, and they've both been clinging on to any shred of relevancy that they can, however they can. And now, just this past week, Colby appeared on stream with this weirdo who goes by the name Neon. If you don't know who Neon is, then you might remember him as this guy who pulled this dumb shit with Nate Diaz.
When you do get knocked out, are you going to retire?
Who said that? So I know who you are.
And guess what? Much like Vitaly and Lil Pump, Neon is also a has-been in his walk of life. In October 2023, Neon was the biggest streamer in the United States, but just a couple of months ago, Kick.com accused him of viewbotting on their website, which is crazy. Since then, his stream viewership has been cut by over half, and let's just say that his YouTube channel isn't doing all that well either. Are you guys seeing the picture that I'm trying to paint? Colby, a washed-up fighter desperately trying to remain in the spotlight, has resorted to creating content with other washed-up internet celebrities desperately trying to remain in the spotlight. I guess birds of a feather really do flock together. This is seriously sad. Just a couple of years ago, he was proclaiming himself as the people's champ and a real fighter, and now he's on live streams making other men twerk for the camera. So what's next for Colby? The answer, honestly, in my opinion, is nothing. He's not in line for another title shot, nor will he ever get another one ever again. He's not headlining any cards, he's not trending, he's not fighting, and he's certainly not winning. The UFC has a new generation of welterweights, and they've all passed him up while he's screaming and crying on the sidelines. And you want to know the saddest part about all of this to me? He really did have potential, but instead of staying active, building a resume, and evolving as a martial artist, he leaned all the way into the character that he was playing. And the thing is, I don't know if Covington is playing a character anymore. I think that this is just him. It's obvious that he enjoys fame and attention more so than most other fighters, and I really do think that he's lost sight of himself in pursuit of social media engagements. He's no longer a contender, and I don't even know if I would call him a gatekeeper either. He's just a guy yelling into the void, hoping someone will listen. And that's really the central issue here. Colby Covington is irrelevant, and it's eating him alive. Anyways, that's the video for today. Let me know in the comments.
It's eating me alive, ladies and gents. It's eating me alive. It's hard to watch. Hard for me to sit here through this video. I still believe in Colby, man. I feel like Colby, I don't know where he's training. From what I heard, he's no longer at MMA Masters, I believe. I heard that, like, when he fought Buckley, the rumor that I had heard was there'd been an issue at MMA Masters, and he had to leave his second gym for whatever reasons. And then, I mean, maybe it's because, as ITP MMA mentioned there, there's not a lot of fighters who like Colby. There's not a lot of people in the industry who like Colby. And I know that I'm in the minority. I'm a minority that rocks with Colby. I was usually always a minority at the live shows, cheering for Colby. And it is what it is. I like the character, but it does seem like people say, oh, I don't know if this is him or the character. There's been clear videos of who Colby is out of character. Now, I do believe that as his career has gone on and he has not become champion, he has not hit those levels of success that he was hoping that he would have reached. You know what I'm saying? There's a little bitterness, it seems like, and he's starting to feed more into that gimmick a little bit. I don't know, but I feel like, all right, I feel like Colby is just a few fights away back from a title fight. I feel like 2 fights, and I think it's possible. Let's who the fuck are we playing with here? Oh, that's the wrong site. Let's just take a second before we get out of here. Let's look at the top 15. Colby is sitting at 9. I think Colby could beat Gilbert Burns, right? I think Colby could beat Gilbert. Man. I want to say I think Colby could do better in a rematch with Leon. But like, damn, the rest of that top 10 is kind of rough. I think he could beat Jeff Neal if he fought back. Right, this is the plan. Fight back and fight Jeff Neal. Get a win. Then shit. Then fight Gilbert Burns. All right, fight Jeff Neal, then Gilbert Burns, and then call out whoever is the champion at that point. Or fight Burns and then Jeff. But yeah, it's looking kind of rough for Colby. It's looking a little rough in here, man. Maybe fight Wonder Boy. I know he was calling out Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy didn't want none of that. Wonder Boy didn't want that smoke. But I would like to see Wonder Boy versus Colby Covington. There's some fun fights back here. Luke Covington. I'd watch that. I'd watch MVP versus Colby. I definitely would watch that fight. There's some fights for Colby. Colby still has name value, and I think he's just with his name value. Like, look at this division. He's easily one of the most recognizable names. Even more, I think Colby's definitely more recognizable right now than Bilal Muhammad. All right. Remember when Bilal tried to get into the Octagon after Shavkat beat Ian Gary, and they didn't know Bilal was the champion. The security wasn't going to let him in. Joe Rogan had to be like, let that dude in. He's the champion. I don't think that would have happened with Colby Covington. I think the people in there would have known who Colby was. Like when I've been to events, I was at UFC when I watched the second fight between DC and Stipe, and in that one, in the second fight with DC and Stipe, Colby was there, and that arena erupted. It was in boos. I was probably the only person cheering for Colby, but it erupted. And I don't know if Bilal gets that reaction at the moment. I think Colby is still 1 or 2 fights away. And it doesn't even have to be that high up in the rankings. I think just a good, entertaining fight, good speech from Colby, and he's right back in there. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you guys for being here once again. Head on over to ITP MMA Live. Give them a like. Give them a subscribe. Tell them Mama sent you. And I'll see you guys soon.
Featherweight, I'm more Francis Ngannou. I be the biggest problem out of any nigga I know. A little old school, like some 45 vinyls. You niggas old duels, what that do to the wino? I do it the commercial way, pay without the splits.